You are looking at Bradley International Airport, recently named the 5th best airport in the country. So what does the future hold? Airport Director Kevin Dillon is with us. And Mr. Dillon, good to see you back here in the program.
Great to be with you.
So I personally love flying out of Bradley because it's easy. You know, you land and you're home within 30 minutes. You pick up your luggage, it's pretty easy depending on where you live. When you got this new title as the 5th best, how'd you feel?
Well, it's great. I mean, it's really validation of everything we're trying to do at Bradley Airport. We know what we're selling at the airport is convenience. So everything we undertake, every construction project, every new service is always with an eye towards passenger convenience. Because again, we know that's what we're selling. You know, we're never going to have the route structure of a Boston Logan or the New York City airports, but they'll never have the convenience factor that we have.
You know, but in terms of the flight structure, it has been improving over the years, international flights. What is on the wish list? What would you like to get there?
Well, we continue to be very focused on our West Coast services. By far and away, on a domestic basis, we'd love to get Seattle into our menu of services. We think there's some obvious business connections, and it's a nice connecting point for Asia destinations as well. On the international front, definitely London. If we could get a nonstop to London, we think it would be extremely successful. But there's a number of cities that we're looking at, Austin, Texas, Phoenix, Milwaukee, Nashville, and Jacksonville, all very, very important cities for us.
You know, if you put an hour radius of Bradley Airport, that's quite a lot of people that you could potentially serve.
It is. We look at our market area as a 90-minute drive from Bradley. In that market area, there's 4.4 million people. But if you bring it down to that 60-minute drive, that hour radius, there's still well over 2 million people. So it's a significant market.
Yeah, you know, people still say that it's a lot easier to get an international flight if you go to Boston or New York. How do you change the mindset on that? I know just recently my wife and I were looking at flights to Europe, you know, for family vacation, and no matter how we cut it, they were still significantly cheaper in both of those places.
Well, we think our Aer Lingus service represents a real nice alternative. There's many, many convenient connections out of Dublin, so we try to tell people that Aer Lingus service is a lot more than just connectivity into Dublin. It's connectivity to all of Europe. In fact, when we negotiated that deal, we tied it into 26 major European cities. So we'd urge people to give that a try. The connection in Dublin is extremely easy. But we do know, you know, there's a vast segment of our population here that wants a nonstop flight.
What is the likelihood of getting London to Hartford flights?
Well, I think the market certainly would dictate that we could sustain that. The problem that's occurring at airports across the country is airlines are all looking for these incentive packages that minimize their risk, and they're all looking for revenue guarantees. And unfortunately, the airport itself can't offer the revenue guarantee. It has to be a government entity or an economic development agency, and I'm not too sure I'm going to be able to convince the state of Connecticut to kick in that much money.
So if you go to Bradley, there's a lot of construction going on right now. What is exactly happening? We're hearing that all the rental cars will now be right at the airport, so you won't have to take a shuttle anymore. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, we just completed the new airport entrance roadway. That was to enhance our capacity of people coming onto the airport, and also included various safety improvements. But that was actually an enabling project to pull back the roadway to supply area to build our new ground transportation center. And that's going to house all of our rental car companies, major customer service improvement. You'll no longer have to take a shuttle bus to get your rental car at Bradley once that's completed. There'll also be some public parking in it, and we're also going to build a transit component in there. We'd like to connect the airport to the rail line.
The governor has talked about that as part of his Transportation 2030 program. What exactly would that be like?
Well, I think that's an extremely important initiative for us. You know, particularly as you go in after international service, Europeans in particular are very enamored with airport to rail connectivity. So it allows us to sell Bradley as a great base of operation, so to speak, but then people can still access the New York market or the Boston market via rail. So right now we're looking at a project of bringing rail directly onto the airport into this transportation center from the Windsor Locks train station. It's a fairly costly project. It's about $93 million is budgeted for that. So it would take a lot of ridership for us to justify that level of construction. So up front, what we want to do is run a high-frequency bus service to gauge passenger interest in it.
What about something cheaper like a monorail or something like that that would run from the airport to the train station?
Well, this actually would be a light rail connection
okay.
Out of Windsor Locks, but it's still
$93 million.
Still a pricey project.
Did you ever wonder why it wasn't done before? I know back when Tom Meskel was governor in the 1970s, he had proposed something, they called it Tommy's Trolley. And Governor Grasso ended up just killing the project. But looking back on it, people say they wish it had gone through.
Yeah, I think so. I think there was a lot of opportunity, unfortunately, missed at Bradley Airport. Some of it is a function that it was being operated by the state, and that's not to throw stones at the state. I think they were hindered by a lot of the bureaucracy that they had to try to work through. So getting projects like that off the ground, very, very difficult. As an airport authority, an independent quasi-public agency, we really have the ability to be a lot more entrepreneurial. A lot of folks don't realize we fund all of our operations at Bradley by user fees. We take no, state tax dollars to support the airport. So, you need to be a lot more entrepreneurial, and I think we can get a lot of things done that the state wasn't able to.
I want to talk about the B-17 crash that happened earlier this fall. What did you learn from that in terms of safety response and emergency response at Bradley?
Well, I think it demonstrated that we're very well prepared at the airport. Very proud of the response of our own staff. We have to operate an airport fire department. We're required by the FAA to do that. Those folks train repeatedly for it. We undergo annual certifications, and I think our response demonstrated that we're very well prepared. We're also supplemented by a lot of mutual aid. Area fire departments and police departments also responded, and it showed that that plan worked as well. So there's no doubt a tragic event. No one ever wants to see anything like that occur at an airport. I've had the unfortunate experience of being involved in 4 major aircraft accidents during my career, but I can tell you the response to this accident was excellent by our staff.
Will it impact future visits of touring groups like this?
Well, right now, there's no reason that we have to restrict it. In fact, we're not allowed to restrict activity into the airport under FAA regulations. If an aircraft is deemed airworthy by the FAA as a public use airport that takes federal grants, we're required to allow those aircraft to operate into the airport.
I know we've talked about this before. It was suggested perhaps that Bradley Airport might get a new name down the road, a combination name, Bradley Field or something like that, Hartford International, Connecticut International, something like that. Where does that stand right now?
Well, we're probably going to take that issue up either in late January or early February of next year. The reason why that's on the table is a lot of folks think it's important to have a geographic identifier in the name for marketing purposes. Particularly we've seen over in Europe, as we're trying to sell Bradley Airport, people have a very difficult time locating
where it is.
So to put a geographic identifier in, we think would help us.
We'll wait and see. All right, Kevin Dillon, good to see you back here in the program. Best of luck at Bradley this year, and happy holidays to you.
Same to you.
Thanks so much for watching Face the State on this Sunday morning. I'm Dennis House. Coming up next, CBS Sunday Morning with Jane Pauley. Have a great day, everybody.